Shedeur Sanders has just been offered two of the biggest contracts in NFL history, $275 million to walk away from Cleveland and take his talent elsewhere. Two teams, the Baltimore Ravens and the New Orleans Saints, are lining up with deals so massive they don't even feel real. We're not talking whispers or rumors. These are concrete, record-breaking offers, numbers that make even the most diehard Cleveland fans start sweating. And in Cleveland, panic. Pure, unfiltered panic. Because this isn't just about money. It's about the Browns' future. It's about the face of the franchise. It's about a quarterback who was supposed to be their savior, the guy who'd finally lift Cleveland out of decades of disappointment. For years, this city has been begging for a star, someone who could carry them, not just for a season, but for an era. And now, just when it looked like they had found their man in Shedeur, the NFL is circling like sharks in bloody water.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Let's break this down. $275 million. Let that number sit in your brain for a second. That's not just a payday, it's a declaration. It's the rest of the league telling Cleveland, we see what you've got, and we're ready to take it. The Ravens and the Saints aren't just making offers. They're sending a message that they believe Shedeur Sanders isn't just a rising star. He's the star, the guy who can completely reshape the trajectory of a franchise. And Cleveland? They're caught in the middle of an impossible situation. How do you hold onto your golden ticket when two teams are dangling generational wealth and the promise of national spotlight? How do you keep the face of your franchise happy when everyone else is throwing cash and promises at him like confetti at a Super Bowl parade? Fans in Cleveland are spiraling. Talk radio is in meltdown mode. Comment sections are split between pay him whatever it takes, and he hasn't even gotten us to the playoffs yet. Are you kidding me? The sense of dread is real. Because Cleveland doesn't just fear losing Shedeur. They fear going back to square one. You have to understand, this isn't just another quarterback. This isn't a replaceable position. Shedeur Sanders has become a symbol. He represents hope, swagger, and the possibility that Cleveland could finally stop being the NFL's punchline. Losing him wouldn't just hurt. It would confirm every nightmare Cleveland fans have about their franchise being cursed. And here's the twist. Shedeur holds all the cards. The Browns can't just force him to stay. If he wants to chase the money, if he wants to chase a bigger market, or if he simply wants out, he can walk away with $275 million in his back pocket. That's the kind of leverage most players dream of. And he has it before he's even taken Cleveland to the postseason. So where does that leave us? With a franchise staring down the barrel of an existential crisis. Do they match the offers? Do they throw everything, money, loyalty, and promises of future glory, at Shedeur in hopes of keeping him in Cleveland? Or do they watch him leave and accept that once again, the football gods have cursed their city? Right now, no one knows. The only certainty is that Cleveland fans are living their worst nightmare in real time. The quarterback they've prayed for might already be gone, lured away by the kind of money that changes not just lives, but legacies. This is bigger than a contract. This is bigger than a trade rumor. This is the moment that could define the future of the Cleveland Browns for the next decade. Either they keep Shedeur Sanders and build the empire they've been waiting for, or they watch him walk out the door and hand that empire to someone else. And make no mistake, $275 million isn't just a number. It's a warning shot. It's the NFL telling Cleveland that nothing, not even their supposed savior, is safe. So buckle up, because whether Sanders stays or leaves, one thing is clear. The Browns are officially in panic mode.
Baltimore is pitching stability. Come here, Shedeur, and you'll play in a system with a championship culture. We've got a defense that wins games and a city that already knows how to build legends. Imagine Shedeur stepping into Lamar Jackson's shadow, or maybe alongside him. The Ravens are practically dangling rings in his face. The Saints, on the other hand, are offering legacy. Be our Drew Brees 2.0. Be the man who brings New Orleans another Lombardi. Be the savior in a city that adores its quarterbacks like no other. They're offering not just money, but immortality. A dome, a fan base, a stage, an empire ready for a new monarch. So while Cleveland panics, Baltimore and New Orleans are plotting. And the entire NFL is watching. This isn't just a negotiation. This is cultural warfare. The Browns can't afford to lose him. Not just because of what he does on the field, but because of what he represents. He's not just a quarterback, he's hope. He's the antidote to decades of quarterback hell. He's the answer to every fan who sat through 0 to 16, who watched Johnny Manziel flame out, who bought into every rebuild, only to get burned again. Shedeur is more than a player. He's a promise. And losing him, especially to a team like Baltimore, would be catastrophic. Imagine Shedeur Sanders wearing purple and black, torching the Browns twice a year, while the dog pound watches helplessly. That's not just bad football. That's betrayal, humiliation, the kind of thing that scars a franchise for generations. But here's the thing. Cleveland can't just throw money at this problem and hope it goes away. They're not Baltimore. They're not New Orleans. They don't have the same level of organizational trust, the same championship pedigree. When Baltimore promises stability, players believe them. When the Saints promise culture, players believe them. When Cleveland promises, well, players remember the dysfunction. They remember the headlines. They remember that for every "we're building something special" speech, there's been another coach fired, another season wasted. That's what makes this situation so dangerous. It's not just about outbidding other teams. It's about convincing Shedeur that Cleveland is worth the risk. That this franchise is finally ready to break the cycle. That he won't become another name on the infamous quarterback jersey meme. And right now, the jury's still out. Meanwhile, fans are spiraling. The Browns fan base has been loud before, but this is different. This is desperation mixed with anger, mixed with paranoia. Social media is a minefield. You got fans threatening to burn jerseys, fans begging Sanders to stay loyal, fans lashing out at ownership for not locking him up the second he showed potential. And then you've got the other side, the cynics, the scarred, the ones who have been hurt too many times. They're saying, don't get your hopes up. This is Cleveland. Of course he's leaving. That's just what happens here. And honestly, that's the saddest part of all. This isn't just about money or football. It's about faith. About whether Cleveland fans can actually allow themselves to believe something good will finally last. But let's zoom out for a second, because this saga isn't just Cleveland's problem. The NFL as a whole is watching this unfold like it's the season finale of a drama series. Because what happens here could change everything. If Shedeur signs one of these offers, the floodgates open. Rookie quarterbacks won't just be seen as investments. They'll be immediate superstars, marketable assets to be fought over before they even hit their prime. Contracts will balloon. Salary caps will bend. Franchises will start reshaping entire rosters around one player in ways we've never seen. This $275 million number isn't just a figure. It's a revolution. And it doesn't stop there. Shedeur isn't just a football player. He's a brand. He's Deion's son. He's a crossover star with global reach. These offers aren't just banking on touchdowns. They're banking on jersey sales in Europe, sponsorship deals in Asia, broadcast rights that stretch across oceans. The NFL has been chasing international expansion for years, and Shedeur Sanders might just be the golden ticket. That's why the Ravens and Saints are going all in. They don't just want a quarterback. They want the quarterback of the future. The one who transcends football. The one who takes the NFL global. And Cleveland? They're standing at the edge of history, clutching their quarterback with both hands, terrified of letting go. But the question is, do they have the stomach to fight this battle? Do they have the vision, the creativity, the resources to counter an offer like this? Or will they let history repeat itself, watching another quarterback slip away while the city burns with frustration? The Browns' next move could define them for decades. Because let's face it, this is Cleveland's shot at redemption. If they match the offer, if they keep Shedeur, if they finally prove they're willing to do whatever it takes to win, then maybe, just maybe, the narrative changes. Maybe the Browns stop being the NFL's punchline. Maybe they become the team that believed in the future, invested in greatness, and finally got it right. But if they don't, if Shedeur walks, then it's back to the same old story. The Browns cursed. The Browns incompetent. The Browns unable to hold onto their own savior. And for fans who have been waiting their whole lives for this moment, that might be the final straw. So here we are, standing at the edge of chaos. One quarterback, two massive offers, a franchise in crisis, and an entire league waiting to see who blinks first. Will Cleveland rise to the moment, or will they once again collapse under the weight of their own history? The clock is ticking. The pressure is unbearable. And the future of Shedeur Sanders, and maybe the future of the NFL itself, hangs in the balance. Now it's your turn. If you were Shedeur Sanders, would you take the money and the stability offered by Baltimore or New Orleans? Or would you stay in Cleveland, betting on loyalty and the chance to become a legend in a city that's desperate for one? Drop your take in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, because this saga is far from over. And when the next bombshell drops, you're not going to want to miss it. Rookie quarterbacks aren't supposed to be valued like this. They're supposed to be groomed, tested, doubted. But Shedeur Sanders has blown the entire playbook wide open. His name alone carries gravity. His lineage, his charisma, his swagger, his potential. It all adds up to something bigger than the game. He isn't just a quarterback. He's a cultural movement. And the Browns? They're being asked the ultimate question. Are you ready to stop being a punchline and actually commit to greatness? Because this isn't just a negotiation. This is a trial by fire. Cleveland ownership is sitting in the hot seat, and the NFL world is staring them down, waiting to see if they'll cave, or if they'll finally prove they can be trusted with something valuable. And let's be honest, history isn't on their side. Decade after decade, Cleveland has managed to squander talent, sabotage opportunity, and choke in the biggest moments. They've let great players walk. They've failed to nurture prospects. They've turned quarterback after quarterback into cautionary tales. So, why should anyone believe they'll get this right? Why should Shedeur himself believe they'll get this right? Meanwhile, you've got two heavyweights circling, Baltimore and New Orleans. Neither of these franchises is subtle. The Ravens are basically saying, we win. That's what we do. You want stability? You want rings? Come here. We'll give you both. The Saints are saying, we're more than a team. We're a culture, a religion. Come to New Orleans, and you won't just play football. You'll become a legend carved into the city's soul. And Shedeur? He's standing in the middle, holding all the cards. Think about that for a second. A young quarterback, fresh into the league, already commanding more power than most veterans ever see. He's being courted, he's being worshipped, and he's being weaponized as leverage in a way that makes this whole spectacle feel surreal. And Cleveland fans? They're unraveling. For them, this isn't business, it's personal. They see Shedeur as the long-awaited answer to decades of pain. They see him as the quarterback who could finally erase the scars of the drive, the fumble, and every blown draft pick that turned into a meme. Losing him wouldn't just sting, it would destroy. It would confirm every fear they've ever had, that Cleveland is where talent goes to die. But let's step back and look at the NFL as a whole, because the ripple effects of this saga are massive. If Shedeur signs a $275 million deal, it changes the rules. Every young quarterback after him will look at their front office and say, "Where's my bag?" The balance of power will shift. Teams will be forced to rethink their entire salary cap structures. The old system of rookies proving themselves before getting paid? Dead. We'll be in a new era where potential is worth as much, if not more, than production. And honestly, that terrifies owners. Because once players realize they can demand this much leverage this early, the floodgates are open. Lamar Jackson fought tooth and nail for his payday. Patrick Mahomes earned his mega deal by winning a Super Bowl. Shedeur? He's getting whispers of $275 million before his NFL story has even been written. That's not just a contract, that's a revolution. So where does Cleveland fit into this revolution? Well, right now, they're the team on trial. They're the ones being asked to match, to innovate, to believe. But here's the kicker. It's not just about money. Cleveland could offer Shedeur $300 million tomorrow, and it still might not be enough. Because money is only one part of the puzzle. Stability matters. Culture matters. Trust matters. And let's be honest, do the Browns have any of those things? Look at Baltimore. Look at New Orleans. These are organizations with track records. They've built cultures. They've built legacies. When they say, "We'll take care of you," players believe it. Cleveland? They're still trying to convince the world they're not the NFL's permanent comedy act. That's why this moment feels so precarious. Even if the Browns match the money, they still have to sell the vision. They have to sell Shedeur on the idea that Cleveland is finally ready to turn the corner, that they won't fire his head coach in 2 years, that they won't implode under pressure, that they won't fumble, metaphorically and literally, the one golden opportunity they've been handed in decades. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Shedeur might not believe them. He might look at that $275 million from Baltimore or New Orleans and see not just money, but security, legacy, a future where his career isn't defined by dysfunction. This is where the psychology comes in. Cleveland isn't just negotiating with Shedeur's agent. They're negotiating with his soul. They're negotiating with the weight of his father's shadow, with his desire to build his own brand, with his instinct to align himself with a winner. This isn't numbers on a spreadsheet, it's identity. And the longer Cleveland hesitates, the more dangerous it gets. Every day they stall, every day they waffle. The media circus grows louder. The narrative spins further out of control. Fans get angrier. Other teams get bolder. And Shedeur himself gets closer to the breaking point where loyalty becomes foolishness. Because let's not forget, Shedeur doesn't owe Cleveland anything. He didn't grow up dreaming of wearing orange and brown. He didn't choose to inherit this mess of a franchise. He was drafted here, and now he's being asked to save them. That's a heavy burden. And if someone else is offering him $275 million and a chance to play for a stable, championship-caliber franchise, you'd have to be insane not to consider it. So what happens next? Does Cleveland finally step up, prove to the world, and to Shedeur that they're serious? Or do they watch helpless as the Ravens or Saints swoop in and rewrite NFL history? Because here's the brutal truth. This isn't just about a contract. This is about Cleveland's legacy. If they lose Shedeur Sanders, they don't just lose a quarterback. They lose the last shred of credibility they have left. They become the franchise that had hope in their hands and let it slip away. Again. And that's why this moment feels so historic. Because no matter how this ends, it's going to define more than just Shedeur's career. It's going to define the NFL's future. Contracts, culture, parity, player empowerment. It all shifts depending on what he decides. So Cleveland, the ball's in your court. And the whole world is watching. This is cold, hard cash, life-changing, league-changing cash, being waved right in front of Shedeur's face by franchises that know exactly what they're doing. Baltimore, New Orleans. Teams with stability. Teams with culture. Teams that don't just want Shedeur, they need him. And the Browns? They're sitting in a panic spiral, watching the one player who represents their entire future be tempted away like Eve in the garden. Now let's slow this down for a second, because the weight of this number is everything. $275 million isn't just a contract, it's a statement. It says, we don't just want you to be our quarterback. We want you to be the centerpiece of who we are. The face of our franchise. The face of our brand. The face of football itself. That's not just business. That's seduction. That's psychological warfare dressed up as paperwork. For Baltimore, the pitch is simple. They're already competitive. They're already tough. They're already respected. But imagine pairing Shedeur's upside with a Ravens infrastructure. Imagine him learning under Lamar Jackson, absorbing the playbook, then eventually stepping into the role as heir to the kingdom. It's genius. It's diabolical. And it's terrifying for Cleveland. Because if Shedeur takes that path, he doesn't just succeed. He thrives. He grows in a system designed to win. He becomes untouchable. Then you've got the Saints. Oh, the Saints. This isn't just a franchise, it's a religion. They've been searching for their next breeze for years. The city is hungry for a quarterback who can carry not just the team, but the weight of New Orleans itself. Their pitch isn't about mentorship or development. It's about immortality. Come here, Shedeur. Walk into the dome, light up the scoreboard, and we'll crown you king. For a young quarterback, that's intoxicating. Meanwhile, in Cleveland, the panic alarms are blaring. Ownership is reportedly furious. The Haslams are calling emergency meetings. The front office is spinning in circles, trying to figure out how to match, how to counter, how to keep this thing from imploding. And the fans? Forget it. They're already rioting online. Every Browns thread is filled with rage, despair, and resignation. Here we go again, they say. Only Cleveland could blow this. And honestly, can you blame them? This is a fan base built on scars. They've lived through quarterback hell for decades. Every time hope shows up, it gets ripped away. Couch, Quinn, Whedon, Manziel, Mayfield, Watson. The names blur together in a nightmare carousel. And now, finally, they've got someone who feels different. Someone who feels real. Shedeur Sanders has the talent, the charisma, the swagger, the DNA to change the entire trajectory of the franchise. He's not just another name on the cursed jersey. He's the chance to burn that jersey once and for all. So of course the fans are spiraling at the thought of losing him. Of course ownership is panicking. This isn't just a player. They're on the verge of losing their entire narrative. But let's not forget, Shedeur is the one holding all the cards. He knows his value. He knows his brand. He knows that with every passing rumor, his leverage grows. And the Browns? They're trapped. If they don't pay him, he walks. If they do pay him, they're rewriting the entire quarterback market forever. Either way, history is being made. And make no mistake, this isn't just a Cleveland story. This is a league story. Because every GM, every owner, every coach in the NFL is watching this unfold, sweating bullets. Because if Shedeur gets $275 million, the floodgates open. Every quarterback prospect will demand more. Every rookie will expect guarantees. Salary caps will shatter. The power dynamic between teams and players will tilt permanently in favor of the players. And for owners used to being in control, that's their worst nightmare. So here's the bigger question. Is this even about football anymore? Or is it about something larger? Power, image, identity? Because let's be real. Shedeur isn't just a quarterback. He's a brand. He's Deion Sanders' son. He's already got the spotlight, the nil experience, the marketing savvy. He understands his worth in ways previous rookies never did. This isn't just about who throws him the ball. It's about who gives him the platform to become the face of the NFL. That's why this drama feels different. It's not about yards or touchdowns. It's about empire building. And here's where Cleveland's biggest problem comes in. They don't have an empire. They don't have the stability of Baltimore. They don't have the mystique of New Orleans. What they have is dysfunction, history, and scars. And no matter how much money they put on the table, those scars don't fade overnight. So the question is, does Shedeur want to be a savior? Does he want to walk into Cleveland's broken kingdom and try to rebuild it from scratch? Or does he want to step into a ready-made empire and let the crown fall into his lap? That's the decision. That's the wait. And let's not overlook the cultural factor here. Baltimore and New Orleans know how to sell a story. They know how to appeal to the heart, not just the wallet. They'll talk to Shedeur about legacy, about family, about what it means to belong to something bigger than yourself. Cleveland can't sell that. All they can sell is desperation. Please stay. Please save us. Please don't leave. And desperation is rarely a winning pitch. But here's the wild card. Maybe Shedeur wants to be the savior. Maybe he looks at Cleveland and sees not dysfunction, but opportunity. Maybe he wants to be the one who changes the narrative, who redeems the franchise, who becomes the quarterback that finally silences every joke. Maybe the challenge is the point. If that's the case, Cleveland still has a chance. But if not, they're doomed. And this is where the panic comes full circle. Because while ownership scrambles and fans scream, Shedeur is sitting quietly, holding the power of the entire NFL in his hands. He knows he's in control. He knows the next move belongs to him. And that silence? That silence is deafening. So where do we go from here? Does Cleveland empty the vault, rewrite the market, and risk their future just to keep their present intact? Does Shedeur take the money, walk into Baltimore or New Orleans, and become part of a ready-made empire? Or does this all drag out into a messy standoff that leaves everyone scarred? Whatever happens, one thing is clear. This isn't just a negotiation. It's a turning point. For Cleveland, for Shedeur, for the NFL itself. Because whether he stays or goes, the $275 million number has already changed the game. Now it's your turn. If you were Shedeur, would you take the record-breaking offer and walk into stability with the Ravens or Saints? Or would you stay in Cleveland and try to write your own legend as the savior of a cursed franchise? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Because this saga isn't just news, it's history in making, and the next chapter could blow the entire NFL wide open.